Hi, and welcome to CEP Live on Facebook, Wealth Policy, Civic Engagement, and You. This is a weekly series of Facebook interviews with leading advocacy organizations with the intention of getting you better connected both to the policies that are at play in the legislature and also how to get more involved. So today we are here with Zack Pistora from the Kansas Sierra Club, and we're live on location at the State House, which is very exciting for us. So the interview will go the same. We do it the same every time. We'll talk about what policy issues are pressing right now relating to the wealth topics, so water, energy, air, land, transportation, health. In other words, everything you should be concerned about. And then we'll talk about ways that you can be better engaged both during the legislative session and afterwards. And as always, there will be lots of opportunities for engagement. So if you have questions during the interview, please go ahead and post them in the comments. And Leilani Gray, who's running tech for us today, she will let us know what your questions are, and Zach will answer them. He's a very knowledgeable guy.
Try to be.
Zach, can you tell our audience a little bit about the Kansas Sierra Club and your role there?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Before I begin, I just want to say, Rachel, thank you, and Leilani and CP for having me, and Facebook for your attention here. My name is Zack Pistora. This is my 8th year lobbying for the Kansas chapter of the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club is the oldest and largest environmental grassroots organization in the country, based out of California, 1862. And our Kansas chapter is 5,000 members across the state, one of the largest grassroots voice here in Kansas for over 40 years now.
Fantastic. I didn't know it was so big.
Yeah.
And how can our audience connect with your work, Zach?
We do have a lovely website. It's kansas.sierraclub.org. kansas.sierraclub.org.
We will post.
Google it if you like, and you'll be able to find it.
All right. And I'm guessing you're also on Facebook?
Yes, we have a Facebook, and not only does the chapter have a Facebook, but we also have individual groups in your area. They're on Facebook page as well. Calendar events, we post a lot of good news. Pretty nice websites.
Fantastic. Thanks, Zach. So can you tell us briefly how the Kansas Sierra Club's work aligns with the wealth priorities?
Yes, well, you know, whether it's water, energy, air, land, transportation, or health, we deal with pretty much all of them. If it's at all environmentally related, we're going to take a stance on it up here at the State House and issues that affect local areas across the state. Yeah, we're dealing with a number of those issues this year. I'm excited to talk about those with you.
All right, and that's a good lead up to what are the pressing policies at play right now?
Yes, well, all these issues really matter, and a few of them get to surface to the level of the legislators' attention this year. Water, I always say, is the #1 environmental issue affecting the state of Kansas, both in terms of water supply and quantity, and then also in terms of quality and how clean our water is. We'll start with quantity issues. Water supply is a huge issue, especially out in western Kansas. Some places in western Kansas are seeing the High Plains Ogallala Aquifer continually deplete feet every year when the natural recharge is just inches. And so for a long time now, mainly due to irrigation, we've been mining that aquifer to the point where some communities, residents are seeing their wells dry up, to seeing the reality of maybe 2 or 3 decades more of water supply left for communities out there. So we can't go without water. It's a serious thing. And so folks are trying to reconcile with that, and the state is kind of leading this as a priority issue. However, when we look at funds for maybe the state water plan fund, we're seeing this year the governor put in a $3 million allocation for the state water plan fund. $3 million is what we got last year, which was good because that was up from the year before where we got just about $2 million. And then the year before that, we've kind of been zeroed out on those statutory transfers, those kind of allocated state money for critical water programs. And so legislative initiative this year is let's get that $8 million in funding, $6 million from state income and $2 million from the Economic Development Initiatives Fund. So with that combined $8 million, add in fees that we charge for fertilizer, pesticides, stock water, a different schedule of fees. The state brings in that money and puts it towards state water plan fund, which goes to critical programs like conservation buffers alongside streams, so you get pollution to meet a buffer strip before it gets into the water, slow down sediment and any chemicals, to voluntary conservation measures, on the farm, to stormwater management issues, stream bank stabilization, funding for research on blue-green algae, for example, a whole host of good programs that this money could be very well used for. So that's one of the issues with water that would be rising to the top this year. Going forth with energy. Energy, I think, is going to probably be the hottest topic this year as far as the wealth issues. Maybe health in terms of expand Medicaid might be number one. If you've been paying attention to the governor's top tier issues, expansion of Medicaid is number one. But as far as energy issues goes, high electricity prices is actually something we've been hearing a lot about. Kansas has the highest electricity price for our ratepayers, residential ratepayers, around, more than our neighbors considerably, and then higher than the national average, which is pretty amazing given that, one thing we really like about living in Kansas is that we're pretty affordable living compared to some other places in the country. But electricity prices seem to be an exception, and our regulatory body, the Kansas Corporation Commission, recently identified as previous capital investments such as environmental retrofits, cleaning up coal power by putting some scrubbers on, is what we refer to as environmental retrofits, and then also and build out of transmission system. Our state was long overdue for updating our electrical grid, and we've done that with some investments, but because the utility have made those investments, now they get to recuperate some of those costs from their customers. Our rates are now higher than our neighbors. One thing we've always said with Sierra Club, I think Climate Energy Project has said similar things, is that cleaning up dirty energy, like coming out from coal stacks, that's a more expensive form of energy than just relying on clean, renewable energy. So we've tried to warn the Regulatory Commission or utilities that we'll probably be paying for this later, and here we are having some of the highest electricity prices around. But what we need to do is transfer our mindset to, instead of looking at the past, look at the future in ways that we can try to bring down electricity prices by making those investments in clean and conservation strategies for energy to reduce prices in the long term. Same time, will allow utilities to continue to make investments, close down maybe some of those stranded assets, those outdated coal plants, and move forward with energy. So that's what's happening on the energy front. There's a lot of other things potentially happening, whether we can get some new safeguards put in on oil and gas drilling activities. Maybe some of you in the audience know that we've been experiencing some earthquakes. It's kind of a recent phenomenon the past 3 or 4 years here in Kansas, and science has attributed that to that caused by the man-made activities of oil and gas wastewater injection. If we can either get some seismic risk evaluations into the permit application process for oil and gas drilling, that would be a good idea. Maybe we even charge a small fee on injection per barrel, because what's happening is the more we've been putting injection underground, the more stress, pressure we create on those fault lines. And next thing you know, we could get an earthquake like what we've been experiencing. Why is that bad? Well, for those in Kansas, maybe earthquakes are a little bit scarier phenomenon, where maybe tornadoes we've been used to. Still concerning, especially being that we have some, man-made, some human-caused contribution to these problems. But causing water mains in cities to break, the foundation of residents and businesses, police stations for schools to shift and cause the floor and foundation get out of balance, structural integrity of buildings, personal items falling on the shelf of their home or business. They're all serious concerns, and those unaccounted for damages should be dealt with by the businesses in our mind. So that's one thing we're pushing this year at the State House. And then a whole host of other issues, whether it's keeping rates or prices low for registration of electric vehicles, to promoting ecotourism and outdoor recreation opportunities. We passed 2 new public parks in the state of Kansas last year, to another whole host of issues up here. So stay tuned. These will keep developing as we go along this year's session. One I think you'll like, Rachel, that I'm excited about. We plan to introduce a bill that allows for preservation of significant and historic landmarks in Kansas, habitats or trees. I don't know if you knew this, we have some trees in Kansas that are as old as the founding of America.
Wow.
1776. I mean, hundreds year-old trees. Amazing, just absolutely phenomenal. The settlers in Kansas came across these trees and when heading west and exploring Kansas. Pretty neat, but we don't want our cities and counties to, mistakenly clear those for development. We want to give them the power to preserve those as icons, heritage of our state, just like we do with historical buildings. So stay tuned.
Great. Well, as you can see, Zack and the Sierra Club are really a wealth of information.
Oh, I see what you did there.
On environmental topics. Thank you for all of that, Zack. So I see that you have a legislative priority. Is that something that somebody can connect with?
Yes. The Kansas Sierra Club has put this out, and we can put it on our website, give it to y'all to share with your viewers. Has everything on here from water conservation, clean energy solutions, advancing agriculture, other considerations. Any ideas that you or your audience may have, we're certainly willing to listen and take that to heart as far as producing some environmental policy actions up here at the State House. So your ideas are always welcome. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't show our 2019 bingo card.
Bingo.
These are ways that we can follow some of the issues that we're pushing up here at the State House, both for legislators and our viewers at home. And as we start thinking about how to be civically engaged with the state legislators, our lawmakers, our new governor, and Congress people, these are some issues that we feel might be important to reiterate, show support for passing up here.
Fantastic, Zack. Thank you for all that information. I want to remind our viewers, if you're watching live and you have a question for Zack, please go ahead and add your question into the comments. If you are like a lot of people and you're watching this after you get home tonight at 5 or 6 o'clock and you're thinking, oh darn, I missed it, that's okay. You can still put your question in the comments and we will connect with Zack and get your answers. So one of the most important things is being informed and asking the questions to get the answers that you want. And to that point, Zack, I would ask, what are some top tips you would have for civic engagement or effective advocacy?
Sure, that's very important. I tell folks, I don't remember the first time doing your taxes. If you haven't participated in the political system, it can be kind of intimidating, like doing your taxes for the first time. But once you get to doing them, you get that practice and understanding. It becomes a lot easier, and then you can share that information with your peers. One tip that I have is that remember that lawmakers have been put into office by the voters, and a representative is supposed to be representing the voice of the people in their area, their constituents. First thing I would do to be politically engaged is reach out and introduce yourself to your representative, state senator, your congressperson. Introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about yourself, your values, and why you care about these issues like water and energy, and that you are hoping to count on them for your support for those issues. And so reach out to them, giving them a call at their State House office number, talking with their assistants or secretary, and saying that you'd like to pass a message on to the legislators is a very first beginning. Email, if you want to put it in writing, or a handwritten letter, always effective too. So first one, introduce yourself and explain who you are and why you're contacting them. Second, I say is try to meet with them sometime in person. We have a beautiful State House building here, one we're pretty proud of, and they're pretty easy to interact with your legislator. If you ask for an appointment maybe ahead of time, you can get 10 to 15